how does the body actually produce the milk?
When you get pregnant, 10 to 18 weeks, the breast milk production starts, even if the baby is born a little early, like premature. So the biggest myth out there is that you've given birth and there's no milk.
Let's talk about breastfeeding challenges.
The more you feed the baby, the more milk your body will make. On the other hand, if you're not breastfeeding very often, then your body's like, there's no baby.
Oh my God.
If a mother is truly struggling with low milk supply, there are certain foods classified as galactagogues.
You just helped someone deliver this morning.
Yeah, she gave birth standing. It's very transformative for everyone, the mom, the baby.
I can cry right now. We're really excited to be doing this whole discussion around lactation. I know you're not just lactation consultant, you're so much more.
Yeah.
You're a midwife, a certified midwife with like close to 15 years of experience. Yeah. And like you were saying, you just helped someone deliver this morning.
Yeah.
And that too standing, you said?
Yeah, she gave birth standing in her own power. It's very transformative. Like for everyone, the mom, the baby, the father who's present, and also anyone witnessing, really.
I can cry right now.
I know.
It's so, like, I know it's just 5 years back, but my birthing experience was so different from what you're telling me.
We never forget our births, right? Like, we remember it till the day we die. We carry it with us. So the few times that we do go through this process, it has to be a joyful, memorable experience, because it's not important how you gave birth, like was it a vaginal birth or a C-section, but how you were treated is very important. Yeah. And that's something I'm super passionate about. Right?
Yeah. So I'm very excited. I'm not going to get emotional. I'm just happy you're here. And I think through this, I hope we can educate a whole lot of new moms.
Definitely.
Just how to make it a little more easier. Yeah. And maybe just get that support because it's out there.
Yep.
You know,
that's my life's mission, really.
Yeah.
Because I have experienced it in my own body. Yeah. I feel that I need to share this with as many people as possible. Yeah. And thank you so much for having me today.
You have two?
Yeah, I have two kids.
Okay.
Yeah, two daughters. They are 15 and 11. My older one was born with a midwife. So I went through the whole journey, which is what inspired me to bring this to Bangalore and go on this path and stay true to it. And the second one is adopted. And I did breastfeed both of them, even my adopted baby. At 4 months when she came home, I did something called as relactation. I know we're not talking about that today, but...
So cool. I've heard of this before, but I literally like...
Our bodies are so amazing, right? Like you don't have to necessarily give birth to make milk for your baby.
So interesting.
So when you're giving birth, you definitely can make milk for your baby and successfully breastfeed. Yeah, for sure.
Goosebumps already. I wish I'd met you 5 years ago, but it's okay. Someone else can benefit from your knowledge.
Definitely.
Okay, so I have a whole lot of questions for you, but you feel free to just talk about everything that you think should be out there.
Definitely, I'll do that. Yeah.
As a starting point, right, I want to ask you, how does the body actually produce the milk? Yeah, I mean, there's biological aspect and everything else, but...
Yeah. When you get pregnant, there's so many changes happening in your body, right? Not just growing the baby and the uterus growing and all of that. The breasts also grow in size and they start producing milk in the second trimester of pregnancy.
Second?
Yeah. So anywhere between 10 to 18 weeks, the breast milk production starts. And even if the baby, by chance is born a little early, like premature, mothers always have milk. So the biggest myth out there is that you've given birth and there's no milk. What people need to know is that the milk is less in quantity. Like the first milk, you might have heard that it's called as colostrum. So it is about 5 to 7 mLs per breast made every time. Okay, and it is yellow in color.
Yes,
it's rich in immunity factors. And also it's a laxative. So babies are not born hungry. They're born pretty full of meconium. I don't know if you saw the first black poop that your baby had, right? So that needs to be eliminated and the colostrum helps in that. So for the first 3 days, the body produces colostrum. And if we get into technicalities, it's called as the autocrine system is what is functioning. So it automatically happens once birth takes over. The hormones, once birth happens, the hormones take over. And for the first 3 days, there's production of colostrum. And the more you breastfeed your baby, like once every 2 hours, once every hour, the more your body will start to shift into the mature milk production phase. Typically by day 3, the milk increases in volume.
Okay.
And a lot of women feel heaviness in their breasts. Some women have leaking. And also some women don't feel anything. But everything is within the range of normal. I think the most important thing, Shrey, is to know that breastfeeding is a learned skill for both the mother and baby. So the body automatically takes care, just like we are not thinking how we are digesting our food or how we are breathing at every step or how our babies are growing in pregnancy, right? So similarly, breast milk production happens. But the act of breastfeeding is where, a lot of the challenges can come in, right? So the production, I would say for 95% of women, there's no problem. 5% may have some sort of mammalian conditions that may need extra help. It's not that they can't make milk, but they may have some challenges. But most women are normal and healthy, and they can make enough milk for their babies.
So at what point just does someone decide that, I don't think I have enough milk? Because this is what I hear very commonly. And I myself, I didn't produce like a lot. Right. But I somehow just kept like managing, like you said, feed again and again and keep.
And the goal is definitely not to have an oversupply, because we think that we should make a lot of milk so that our babies can get a lot of milk and grow really healthy, but it doesn't quite work like that because our stomachs are finite. You might know that it's the size of our fist, right? And you've seen small babies, their fists are tiny, right?
Correct.
So they are not needing a lot of milk. So what our bodies actually need is to produce the right amount of milk, not less, not more. And I think to set up yourself for success, the best thing that you could do is to learn about it in pregnancy. So attend a breastfeeding or a childbirth education class. Know what you can expect during birth, during your labor, during birth, after your baby is born. So one of the best things that moms can do is to advocate to have their babies with them on their bodies immediately after birth.
The skin to skin?
Yeah, because there is that cascade of hormones once the baby is born. Okay, so, I mean, the nature, like our bodies are taking care of everything, right? We have somehow, the systems have been set up somehow to intervene in all these natural processes. But going back to just common sense, basic stuff, keep the mother and baby together. They've been together, keep them together. Okay, the baby is very active at birth, especially in unmedicated, normal, natural births. The baby is very active. Yesterday, the baby was pushing off with his feet and trying to get to the mother's breast.
Oh my God.
It's a phenomenon called as breast crawl, and you can Google it, a lot of YouTube videos on that. So the breast tissue smells like amniotic fluid. So babies can actually find their way to the breast. And their natural reflex and instinct, survival instinct, is to latch on. So when we have an undisturbed birth and they're not separated, within the first hour after birth, babies can just do it by themselves.
Wow.
With very little assistance.
Wow. But with my own experience and some others, they don't immediately put the baby on your body.
They don't.
Some
in
do.
Hospitals.
Yeah. Some doctors probably do. But most often the baby is shown to you and taken away for a bit and then brought back.
Yeah. So the idea behind that is that babies need to be like checked from head to toe and all of that. But the question that we need to ask is why immediately after birth? Why not like a couple of hours after? Okay. Of course, like as a midwife, I definitely support the bonding. And immediate bonding after birth, because that can solve a lot of the breastfeeding challenges, common things that moms and babies face. And the other important thing to remember is that it takes two to breastfeed. Women, as moms, we carry a lot of guilt and pressure that, oh my gosh, I'm not able to. either feed the baby or make enough milk or make too much milk, whatever it is. Somehow we are always constantly, and even the society is blaming us, families, friends, whatever. They're always saying something which can impact the way we feel about breastfeeding, right? But when we know what our bodies are capable of, and when we have our babies with us, and when we know what to expect, and we have the right kind of support, I think that's like a very key thing, right? We can't do it in isolation. We're never meant to do any of this in isolation. Exactly. Pregnancy, birth, postpartum, none of it.
Takes a village.
Yeah, it does take a village.
Yeah.
And in this modern world that we've created, we need to like make our villages.
Exactly.
And which is where, you come in, which is where I come in as a midwife.
So I mean, you mentioned that, if when that skin to skin happens immediately after, chances are that in that 1 hour the baby can even latch, and it can be as smooth as that, right? But we see a lot of new moms struggle with breastfeeding initially. Is there any one tip
to
kickstart the process apart from that one that you've just said?
I would say I'll give you 3 tips because these are like very basic, simple things to remember. One, of course, don't separate from your baby. Then your position. Okay, make sure that you are in a comfortable position. So we are all like scrunched up and trying to breastfeed our babies, right? Like we think we're like so in love with our babies and we don't want any harm to come to them. But when we are scrunched up, it can make breastfeeding challenging for the baby as well, because the tension in our bodies can carry forth to our babies as well. So when we are calm and in a good position, right, lying down is the best position for new moms because you've just given birth, you've gone through a lot, you need your rest. The best thing to do is lying down. And if you think about it, in any position that you're feeding the baby is always lying down, either on your lap or next to you. So it doesn't matter. It's very safe. And then the baby's position. Make sure that the baby's position is such a way that the baby is able to get a good mouthful of the breast in their mouth. And that's very important. So that, mothers don't have like nipple pain. Babies don't nipple feed, right? They breastfeed. So latching only on the nipple is what can cause the problem. Yeah. So baby's position matters in that way. So these 3 things, if they can keep it in their minds, that can set them up for, success.
Success, right, at the beginning without having to go through
and
too
it's
much.
also not everything or nothing, right? Even if your baby gets some breast milk, it's very, very beneficial.
Yeah. And you typically define how often the feeding is done, or is it again a case-to-case scenario? Because typically what I was told was every 2 hours you have to feed.
Yeah, that's a very good sort of a guideline to follow because, as I said, it is a learned skill.
Yeah.
And the more you do it, the more better both of you are going to get at it, right? So the initial couple of weeks, I do recommend feeding very often. Once every hour, once every 2 hours, not going beyond 3 or 4 hours. As I said, the baby stomachs are small, so they digest their food very fast. And then it's their biological need to breastfeed often. And when they breastfeed often, they get to learn how to suck better. And when they learn how to suck better, their entire, body development gets better, actually. Brain development. It impacts everything because everything starts from our mouth. What we put in and day out into our mouth. You know this.
Forever.
Yeah, right? So the choices we make. And this is their first step into that direction, right? They get to taste everything that their mom is eating. It comes through their breast milk to the babies. So that way, I mean, there's so many aspects and so many angles to it.
Yeah. And does that also impact supply? The way how often they would feed and how much more milk production happens?
Yeah.
It does.
So the body is always trying to optimize, right? The body doesn't want to spend more energy. And if you see, breastfeeding is definitely more calorie intensive than even being pregnant.
Correct.
Pregnant moms do need to eat a fair amount, but you're actually more hungry when you're breastfeeding. I don't know if you experience.
Yeah. Absolutely.
First 3 days, the body is automatically producing milk. And after the 3rd day, it switches to the endocrine system, where it is a supply and demand situation, right? So the more you feed the baby, the more milk your body will make. Or rather, let's put it as that the more you feed your baby, your body will make the right amount of milk for the baby.
Understood. So it understands, the body understands that the baby needs this much.
Yeah.
So let me produce.
We can breastfeed twins and triplets and, multiples, as they call it.
Yeah.
Because we have two breasts. And depending on how many babies are, our body understands how much milk to make.
Correct.
And on the other hand, if you're not breastfeeding very often, then your body is like, there's no baby. So
not needed.
Let me make less milk.
Got it. Taking a quick break to thank our sponsor of this episode, Philips Avent, the breast pump that has made pumping super duper comfortable. Yes, it's portable. It's actually 3x faster in pumping and 2x lighter in weight. Basically, made pumping very, very convenient for all new moms. This concept is understood. So where does the food for making more milk come in? Because you know how all of us get fed certain types of things and, so much of those things. We kind of overdose on those things.
Definitely.
Does that also really add?
I think it's all interconnected, because in the postpartum period, after having, grown a baby for 10 months and then having given birth, having lost a good amount of blood, like whatever happens in the postpartum period, the body needs to recover. Okay, and if you see there is a lot of overlap in the foods that help the mother recover postpartum, will be the foods that help the mother make milk as well. There have been some case studies where people in famine and starvation kind of situations also made milk for the baby. Because if you see the women's bodies, they prioritize the pregnancy and they prioritize the new infant more than their own well-being and nutritional thing. However, we can, as long as we eat a well-balanced, healthy diet, whatever we ate in pregnancy, continue eating it in postpartum. Nothing special per se is needed. Yeah. And I think there are certain foods that are classified as galactagogues. And everything has its place. And if a mother is truly struggling with low milk supply, then those can be helpful. But if you're making enough, your baby is breastfeeding well, and you still eat all those foods, then you might end up into oversupply, which is no fun at all. Right?
Of course.
I think you've experienced it.
Just a few times because of not feeding on time and things like that. But that's not fun.
Yeah, that's not fun. And it can lead to a lot of issues with both the mother and baby. Right? So we don't want low supply, definitely, but we also don't want more milk, the right amount of milk. So you conserve your energy and your baby gets... So also, it's not like the milk is kind of stable, right? Throughout the baby's, even in a single day, if you see, it's a live fluid. And based on what the environment is of that baby, exposed to germs, exposed to, being overwhelmed, everything, breastfeeding can be a solution for all of that.
Wow. What about stress? Does mom's stress, because generally you're fairly sleep deprived, and if you don't focus on sleep, and if, soon enough you try to get into work, how you generally or there could be some person stressors as well. Does that impact milk supply?
It doesn't directly impact milk supply.
Okay.
The body continues to make milk. But it can, however, affect the letdown. So letdown is a kind of a chain reaction in response to the baby latching on and sucking. And then once that happens, there's a signal sent to our brain saying, secrete the hormone oxytocin. And that's the hormone of love. That's what, is secreted when we make love. That's what's secreted during labor and birth. And that's very important for breastfeeding as well, right? So anytime there's stress, right, that is the cortisol and adrenaline and all the stress hormones in our body going up, oxytocin gets blocked by the brain, right? Correct. So we don't want that happening. So in terms of the sleeplessness, that's we are biologically primed to not sleep and to wake up when we have our babies, right? So that necessarily is not what causes the stress. What causes stress is your mother-in-law saying you're feeding the baby too often, or the baby's hungry,
or your own mother,
crying, or whoever. I'm not vilifying anyone here, but yeah, you know what I mean, right? Well-meaning relatives telling you that feed your baby more often. like you don't know that you have to feed your baby, right? Like you're trying and it is overwhelming, and that can cause stress.
Yeah.
So removing those stresses, though that is important, and making sure that you arrange your life in such a way that you have the support, either hiring people to help you at home or to have family over, whatever, that can really help so that you can get good night's sleep. As much as you can as a new mom, and also sleep during the daytime, right? If you can have that sort of a situation, that would be good for your postpartum recovery and to remove all the stresses so that you can have like a smooth breastfeeding journey.
Yeah. I think because I had help, like they call them japas, right? I don't know what are the other terms used, but I had her only for like 35 days, 40 days. And I couldn't keep her longer, COVID and all of those things.
Right.
She had to be elsewhere. But then it was a blessing. And had I known how critical their role is, I would have tried to keep her with me for at least 6 months. That's how amazing she was.
I'm so glad you had that experience.
Yeah, I'm glad I had it even for 35 days because she taught me so much.
Right.
And that's what made the rest of the journey fairly smooth and not too hard, because we didn't have anyone after that except my husband and I. But for everyone listening, I think, like you said, that support and help in whichever way it comes, whether it's your own mother or mother-in-law,
friends, family,
japas,
whoever,
it's a blessing.
Definitely have someone in pregnancy plan for these
in
things.
Pregnancy, yes, correct, because we got her a little sooner, as in when I was still pregnant and stuff, so towards the fag end. But
that's good.
That really helps. Let's also throw some light on pumping milk. Like, you have such amazing breast pumps out there now. Like, I personally used as well.
You do.
And now I think you have even breast pumps that you can just walk wherever, you can be at work.
They're like Bluetooth enabled.
Yeah, like silently just keep pumping and the world doesn't even know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but what is your opinion on pumping milk? You think it's needed, not needed?
It's very, very situational and personal. Depends on what's happening. If your baby is with you and if you're directly breastfeeding, there's no reason to pump. Pumping is not recommended the first 6 weeks or so, because your body is still getting used to producing milk and the body doesn't know. So if you add pumping in the mix, your body may think that there's one extra baby or a half extra baby or whatever. Right?
Oh, interesting.
And there is no, I mean, although we have all these fancy pumps and the technology has improved so much over the last, 10, 15, 20 years, no one is as effective as getting milk as the baby. And you share a bond with your baby, right? Oxytocin is produced when your baby latches. May not happen as easy with a, machine.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But again, it has a time and place. So
Correct.
if in case the mother has to be separated from her baby for health reasons.
Correct.
Either baby or mom having health reasons where they're not able to be together, then pumping can be useful in the first few weeks and months. If there are true breastfeeding challenges where the baby, for whatever reason, is not able to latch, then it's helpful for the mother to be supported with pumping so that she can keep her milk supply going and continue to provide breast milk.
Yeah.
Like you mentioned, a lot of families also choose to, like the moms choose to pump milk so that they can get more sleep in the night.
Yeah.
My recommendation would be to actually lie down and breastfeed so that you just have your baby right next to you and, feed the baby, because pumping can also in those situations, make more work for you. Right. And of course, if you are going to work outside the home, and you're separated from your baby much later.
Correct.
Whenever you decide, ideally 6 months you're at home, and then many women decide to start working outside the home.
Yeah.
That's when pumping can be super useful.
Super useful.
So when they're away, baby still gets breast milk.
Yes.
And when they're back, they can breastfeed.
Yeah, and also now I've also noticed that a lot of new moms getting back to work in like 3 months.
Yeah.
I mean, to each his own, right? It could be, you never know.
Yeah, and they're also, I think women nowadays are also seeking their village outside, right? Because motherhood can be very isolating, especially if you're doing it just by yourself.
Correct.
Yeah, so a lot of women do seek that.
Yeah.
3 months, I would say, is not ideal in terms of your own recovery. Because you're not just thinking when you're young, even in your 30s or 40s, whenever you have a child, right? You still have the energy to be like, yeah, I can do everything, right? But then we don't have to also do it all. And we also have to think about what when we are 60, 70, how will our bodies be at that stage? So I think taking it slow, we have all these pressures, this social conditioning, the messaging that we get that somehow we have to just bounce back. But when you become a mother, you're changed. Your body changes.
Yeah,
and you have this little lovely thing attached to you, whether, for better or for worse. And it takes a while. It takes 2 years for the mother's body itself to recover.
Yeah. No, even with fitness, right? We tell everybody that you want to move a little bit, do it at your own pace at home. Like, there are so many just simple rehab exercises that you can do for your pelvic floor, for your core. Just do it slowly at your own pace.
Exactly.
Like, there is no hard and fast rule that you have to hit the gym and, do heavy stuff or fast stuff. No. Take
do some
1 year, 2 years, 3 years. Yeah,
lift your baby for weights.
Because I took my own sweet time as well, despite being in this industry.
Right.
I slowly focused on my own rehab, and then of course COVID time. So I just worked out at home, and then there is no rush.
There's no rush.
You have to think of long term, and you're in it.
I mean, movement is great.
Yeah, movement is great. Walk with your
move,
baby.
Yes. Wear your baby, walk.
Wear your baby, exactly.
Breastfeed on the go, no problems.
Yes.
But also no rush, no pressure. I think it's a balance, right?
It's a balance.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about, breastfeeding challenges that don't come through poor latching, but come through pain. Like the nipple pains, mastitis.
Yeah.
I think it's quite common, right? I mean, is there?
Yeah, there are some common challenges.
So please throw some light on it. And is there any way to take care of it way before it happens?
Yeah. I mean, I think step one is to definitely get to know about breastfeeding and prepare for breastfeeding. Nothing needs preparation in terms of your breasts and all of that, but just knowing what to expect after the baby is born and having any of your questions cleared can go a long way. And if you feel like you're struggling even from day one or at any point of time in your breastfeeding journey, I would say reach out for help. Bangalore has many, many lactation experts now. 10 years, 15 years back, there were hardly any, handful of them. So you can definitely, reach out and hire. If one person doesn't work out, hire someone else.
Yeah, of course.
But get the right help and get the help that helps you meet your goals. Right? Because every one of us want to breastfeed, most of us. But we all have different goals and different ways of doing it.
Yeah.
Right? So get someone who's not judgmental, at the same time giving you the right information and helping you the way you want to be helped. Yeah, that can go a long way. Talking about the common challenges, the nipple pain and latching are kind of interrelated because the baby doesn't latch properly.
Then you have pain.
When they have a shallow latch, then there is usually pain. And that sometimes can be a little multi-layered situation where the baby is having some sort of an oral restriction and is not able to breastfeed effectively, which is what is causing the nipple pain. And when mother has nipple pain, we very often see that the baby is also not gaining weight and getting enough milk because they're not able to effectively. Sometimes the solution is very simple, right? Like you fix the latch, the positioning and all of that, and it works well. But sometimes a little more intervention is needed. Okay, so there are, again, many experts who can help you through, but not suffering in silence and, in guilt is very important. So instead of investing in formula, right, spend that money to get a lactation expert. If that's your goal. If you are okay with formula feeding, go for it. I mean, there's no harm in that per se. Like if that's your choice, you're making a conscious decision to do that. But then breast milk comes with its own advantages and so many benefits.
Correct. No, I mean, it's to each his own. But like you said, breast milk comes with its own benefits. But I also know of moms who, from the get-go, right, or even before they've delivered, they're very, very clear that they're not going to breastfeed.
Yeah.
In such cases, do they even produce milk because you're so clear in your head that, no, I'm not breastfeeding?
Definitely, because the body, is doing what it needs to do, right? And maybe, yes, they produce less milk and all of that, but I haven't really helped anyone who didn't want to. But then there have been situations where moms lost their babies and then had to stop lactating.
Okay.
So in those cases, we do have ways to get them to stop making the milk through natural or pharmaceutical means. But I would say, there are some people, but many of the young people nowadays are choosing not to have babies itself, right? That's the next step. Breastfeeding. That's on one hand, and as I said at the beginning of the podcast, on the other hand, you can breastfeed your adopted child.
Correct.
So it's such a personal choice, and it's what you want to do and how you want to raise your kids. Yeah, it's a part of parenting, breastfeeding.
Yeah. What solution do you have for nighttime feeding exhaustion?
Yeah.
Because it's very different, right? Daytime feeding versus nighttime feeding. I mean,
you need your rest. Everybody in the house is like sleeping, and they need their rest as well, so that everyone's up and about in the morning. The best thing to do is have the baby in your bed right next to you. Some parents are afraid that they'll smother their babies, but you love your baby. You're always aware that your baby is next to you. Just like we don't roll off our beds after a certain age, right? We have that sense of boundary and balance. So in the same way, you will always know that your baby is next to you. And it's very safe and actually even beneficial for the baby to be so close to you.
The bonding.
And then you just get used to it after a few days of being together through the night. So you just have to, in half sleep, get your breast out. The baby latches automatically.
Yeah.
And you breastfeed, and at some point, both of you are sleeping. And that's how it should be, so that you feel rested, and your husband can then do the diaper changes.
Yeah. No, but that's the whole point, right? We were discussing earlier that, of course, it's nutrition for the baby, but along with it, and it is also an emotional bonding that is very important.
Yeah. It's so much more than just food.
Yeah.
It's soothing an overwhelmed baby. Like babies, sometimes in the evenings, they get overwhelmed or cranky, fussy, whatever you want to call it, right? Something in their clothing might be bothering them. They might be sitting in a wet or dirty diaper for a while, and that might be bothering them. Right? There's so many reasons why they're crying, just not for food. But beyond that, just the act of breastfeeding is closeness. You go to a crowded place, you go to a wedding or something like a movie theater or something. Babies can get super overwhelmed or triggered, right? So it's a way of soothing them. And if you choose to breastfeed, let's say beyond 2 or 3 years, because the biological weaning age for babies or children is actually 4 to 7 years.
I was just going to ask you about that.
Yeah. So when you choose to breastfeed beyond 1 and 2 years, so 2 years is what WHO recommends, that you breastfeed up to 2 years. So if you choose to breastfeed beyond the first year, then it does become a parenting tool as well. Oh, you fell down. Come, let me nurse you. Oh, you're sleepy. Oh, you're overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Oh, you have a fever. And when kids are sick, their appetite reduces.
Yeah.
So breast milk is one way to make sure that they're getting something, and they're also getting hydrated, right? And the beauty of breast milk is that when the baby's saliva touches the breast, the nipple and the breast tissue, the saliva gets soaked into the skin, okay, and the body is very intelligent to actually make antibodies to whatever your baby is going through.
Wow.
To fight that infection.
Yeah.
So it helps them recover faster. Breastfeeding can help regulate the body temperature of a baby who can't do it on their own. So that's amazing. The skin to skin that we recommend and talk about, that has so many benefits beyond just bonding, right? It actually helps babies who are struggling to gain weight. Because it reduces the stress in their body so much that they're able to let their nervous systems relax. Yeah. So brain development, you talk about it. Sometimes, toddlers or like babies who are older than 6 months, they get so overwhelmed and because they're learning so many new skills as a part of their development. So the one familiar thing is their mothers and the breastfeeding. Yeah.
So it can really be soothing and calming.
Yeah. So there's nothing like sometimes they're just like thirsty maybe. So they come and then they just feed for like a minute or so and run away.
Correct.
If they're mobile, right? So it's such a big, wide range. And it's so much more than just providing them food.
So what's like the minimum time that you as a, as someone expert in this field would say is ideal? If someone probably doesn't enjoy breastfeeding so much, but still wants to be able to do it for the benefit of it, what would you say is the minimum time? Like I did it for 6 months.
6 months is a great goal, I think, to have initially, because you don't want to overwhelm yourself, like have some lofty goal and then feel like you're failing at it or something because you're not enjoying breastfeeding. Some people, do have aversions for whatever reasons. There are many, many reasons for that. And so take it one day at a time, okay, and keep asking yourself, do I want to continue beyond this particular day as well? And 6 months is what is called as exclusive breastfeeding. And after that, you start the weaning, right? Like you introduce solids and all of that, right?
Becomes a little easier.
Especially if you're not enjoying it or you're finding it too challenging. You want to be, working out of the house. You don't have time to pump. All of those situations, then it does help you to sort of have that as a goal.
Yeah.
As I said, WHO is recommending 2 years and beyond.
2 years, but you just said some people do it for 4 to 7 years. That's like the max time.
No,
7 years. I'm just
the combined breastfeeding years that I did for both my kids were 12 years. One weaned at 5 years and the other weaned at 7 years. So
really,
I was having a 2-year overlap.
Between the two.
Both of them.
Oh my God!
Yeah, although they're like 4 years apart, and it is a choice that I consciously made and I was ready for it. So as I said, it takes 2 to breastfeed, right? So both the mother and child or baby have to be ready for whatever they choose.
What they want, exactly.
So I see, like, in my experience working with so many families, most people are kind of done by 1 or 2 years.
Yeah. 1 or 2 is also I mean, you're seeing it from your experience. From what I hear, it's like, most of them are like, 1 year. 1 and a little under 1.
In my so many years of working with families, 2 years seems to be like...
That's amazing. I mean, it's nice to hear that a lot of people are still doing it for 2 years.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing your older one went on for 7?
Yeah, she was 7 when she stopped and decided to stop.
Wow.
But it does get lesser. I mean, they're not really dependent on it's the relationship, really. Yeah. They're not dependent on breast milk for their food.
Correct,
right?
Of course.
At that stage. It's for her to go to sleep or to just feel less overwhelmed, to feel that connect. I want to reconnect with my mom. I've been away from her. That sort of a thing. Yeah. So it was a very conscious decision. And I did go through periods where I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? And it was overwhelming. But then somehow, for whatever reasons, it felt like the right thing to keep doing. And to let the child decide when to stop.
So beautiful.
Yeah. So
I mean, I've heard of, moms who've adopted and managed to also produce breast milk for the adopted child, like one other case. I don't know much about it, but it's nice to meet someone who's an expert and has also done it.
Yeah.
It's phenomenal.
Thank you.
Like, for me, this is just how beautiful and miraculous the body is.
Really?
Right? What it can do. And I've seen it from a sports perspective, right? Like, I'm 45 and today I feel stronger in what I do on the floor than when I was 35.
That's amazing.
And I feel like post my child, I've developed a newfound strength, which I probably didn't have. Maybe, I don't know, it's a mental thing or emotional thing or whatever it is. And to know now that how your body can actually...
Yeah, birth is very transformative in that way because you actually step into your power.
Yeah.
And what you are actually doing, Shreya, is so inspirational because you are proving that age is just a number. And you don't have to slow down if you're 45, 50, whatever age that you are, right? It's such a mindset shift. And I think it's so applicable at every aspect of your life, whether you're pregnant or you're planning to go into labor and birth, or you're in the postpartum period. Know that you have all the tools inside of you and you are capable. Just have to tap into those resources and get the right kind of people to support you so that you can actually tap into those resources. And then when you're able to do that, you come out, the better for it, for sure.
I'm
right?
sure. I'm sure. Like, you won't believe it. Just like a month ago, I think I was having this conversation with somebody. I'm like, I think a couple of other moms only that, I mean, I really wish I had listened to my doctor and had the second one, like just a year later, because my doctor was like, you're in a great place to have your second one. Just do it.
Go for it.
And she was so lovely. And then at that point, because of COVID and everything, my husband and I are like, what? No way. I mean, there's no chance we can even think about it. But now I think that'll be my only regret in life.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, that'll be my only regret.
It's not too late to adopt if you want. Just say.
Yeah, and I've considered that even before I had my first one. Like, my husband and I both have been so ready for adoption even before I had my daughter, right? Because that was going to be our first choice. But then my family obviously was not supporting it anyways, and I obviously didn't want to disappoint them gravely, so we kept brushing everything aside. And at one point it came to a stage where I'm like, it's now or never, and then we had my child. But even now I'm like, yeah, it's still not late to adopt.
It's not.
Someone like, no, it's still not late to even conceive. I'm like, maybe, but I don't know if I want to go through that 9-month thing again, because emotionally and mentally maybe I'm not ready. But it's not too late to adopt. Yeah.
Just putting it out there.
Putting it out there. And I think I've been putting it out there for too long now. It may just happen.
Yeah. Let me know if you need any help here.
Wow.
Yeah.
This feels good.
Yep.
And I thank you so much.
You're most welcome.
Been such a great conversation.
I enjoyed my time.
Yeah. And I think I've heard so many things I've never heard before about feeding, about so many other things. And I just hope it helps a lot of women planning or already in that journey to find themselves, the lactation consultant or a midwife, or probably be able to get your time.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you, Chetna.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah, you're most welcome.